citizens. And after Corona, of course, the question is how to provide digital competence in students to make them competent to participate in remote teaching, distance teaching, as in cases of Corona. Some people, some researchers said that actually our generation, or the generation of young people, is naturally equipped with all needed skills to effectively and consciously use digital technologies in teaching and learning process. Well, it is written also in the EU document DigCompEdu, which is the basic document which give us guidelines how to reach digital competence in the school system. But please think about the COVID situation in last October, November, December, and think about parents in this situation. I think it was similar in your country and is as in our country. Parents in our country complained that they're exhausted because they have to sit with their children in front of computer and support the study program or educational process, because teachers' lessons were too advanced, or they demanded too advanced level of digital literacy, and parents had to help. At the same time, parents work from home, so they were really exhausted after months and months of closed schools and home schooling of their children. So the main challenge, there are many of course in this time, but the main challenge is digital of the Slovene school system is digital literacy and digital competence for teaching and learning. And we have two questions. In this content. First open question is actually what is digital literacy, and second open question is who is competent, who should teach this digital competence. Actually, if you ask two persons what is digital literacy, you will get two answers, two different answers. If you ask three persons what is digital literacy, you will get three different answers, and so on and so on. I participated perhaps 14 days ago a meeting of generally advisory board of the state Slovenia for schooling, which is the highest board who decides about school system, about curricula, about textbooks, and so on. And the person, the man who was discussing about this topic, who is competent to teach digital literacy, or should we have a specific subject in the curriculum, or should it be the digital literacy the part of every school subject? He said, what is actually digital literacy? It is the competence to turn on the computer, which is, I mean, at least naive to hear. So what is digital literacy, and who is competent to teach this literacy, this digital literacy, I will going to speak about. Now, at the first sight, we have two terms in the European educational society. These are digital literacy and digital competence. And a closer look who is using which of these terms gives us the answer. The EU documents are speaking about digital competence. The document is DigComp and the DigComp 2.1 and is exploring a digital competence needed for participating in the society of 21st century and to participate in active citizenship. But it is not enough, or it is only for general public. For the school system, we need, and European Union provided another document, which is DigCompEdu, which is defining structural elements needed in educational process, both sides of this educational process, in teaching and learning. And I will now show the picture of pedagogical digital competence. It is, as you see, structured competence. It consists from education professional competencies, which means you are the teacher you are a biology teacher. This is biology knowledge. Then, of course, if you are a teacher, you have educators or your pedagogic competencies, and with this professional knowledge and pedagogic competencies, you are going to transfer professional knowledge to your students. To look at this picture closer, you see that with this DigComp, you come to the digital literacy didactics. So it is not enough that you are professional, that you have biology knowledge. It is not enough that you have general pedagogic competencies. You also have to have digital pedagogic competencies, and you need didactic competencies to teach your students digital literacy, digital knowledge, to empower him to use digital environment or to participate in your digital learning environment. It will be clearer if we look at this picture. Everything is very analog to general pedagogy. Since you are students of pedagogical study programs, you know that on general level we have pedagogy, we have didactics, which is actually pedagogy in the in school teaching environment, and that you have special didactics knowledge, which is sciences about learning and teaching in special educational fields. It is not different in digital learning environment. You have general digital competence pedagogy. You have digital competence, which is actually something like teaching for digital citizenship. Then you have digital competence didactics, which is digital competence for participating in digital learning environments. And then in the third field, of course, the teaching contents, curricular contents from different science fields are very different. And digital learning environment, which are used in biology, in physics, in English language, in music education, are very different. So the teacher who is competent to teach, biology, music education, literacy education, physics education, is choosing and using for his students and for his topic the most efficient digital learning environment. And for this process, he needs to teach his students to use this digital learning, this specialized digital learning environment, to use it effectively, actually to use it with the outcome that the knowledge and the competencies are better than they were in classical digital environment, classical analog environment. I am mother tongue teacher. I'm teaching mother tongue. I'm teaching students how to teach Slovene language and Slovene literature. And in the field of knowledge, I give my students in language education, it is literacy and literacy education, which means how to empower students to read materials printed on paper, like books and classical textbooks, and how to read online, how to learn from books, how to learn online. So in the digital learning environments and in the context of our task to provide students with the knowledge to the knowledge how to teach their children how to learn in digital learning environment, we have to empower our students how to teach their children to be digital competent and to learn. If we have learning from home, if we are learning in the situation like it was COVID, or if we want to empower them to learn in the future society. So what did we do? Now we have 80 students in the 5th grade in the 5th study year, and we have to empower them to teach digital literacy and in the frame of digital competence. What did we do? We searched in the world audience, in the scientific audience, and for the experiences. And we found the method which is called Internet Reciprocal Teaching Strategy, and it was developed by Liu in the 1915, and it is by now the most famous and the most tested one. What is the aim? What was the aim of this reciprocal teaching strategy, and why did we transfer this knowledge to future teachers? We wanted to teach our teachers to teach the competence to search information and knowledge, not only generally, but in the frame of different subjects. Think, the traditional school, the teacher, professor was teaching, and then explaining, and then he said, okay, now go home and learn this, and when you come back, we are going to prove to give you some assessment, and you are going to tell us what you have learned at home. In the modern school, this is not very relevant anymore. The teacher is the manager of the knowledge gaining process. So one of the most popular and most efficient didactic approaches is problem-based learning. problem-based learning in biology, in physics, in English language, and so on. So by a problem-based learning in different subjects. The group of students gets a problem and they have to solve this problem by searching knowledge and information by themselves. So, solving problems in the frame of problem-based learning is highly connected with digital competence, how to find this needed knowledge for solving problems. Then it is, of course, the competence to communicate about this new knowledge and express and share this new subject knowledge. Well, I don't know how many experiences you have got in the time of your schooling, but our observations show that if students are confronted with problem-based learning, and if they want to, or if they are in front of the assignment, find the information, they go to Google, they type a question or the keyword, and they do not open the second line. They do not open the third line. They open only the first link, and they used the first 5 lines of this first link. So actually this digital literacy in problem-based learning process is very fragmental and is needed to teach. Okay, and now if we compare this definition or this problem-solving oriented definition of digital literacy in the frame of digital competence, and if we now compare this with natural science literacy competence, and if we read that this natural science literacy is defined as a competence to find, evaluate and use science knowledge, which is stored on internet to solve a problem in a science class and to construct students' own science knowledge. Now we see it is practically the same, or it is quite the same. So from this point of view, or from this point, we decided that Internet Reciprocal Teaching Strategy is the correct strategy to be taught to our students to develop digital literacy in the frame of digital competence in their class. It is a structured competence compound from computer basic skills, web searching, navigation skills, understanding and developing questions, locating information, critically evaluating information, synthesizing information, and communicating information among peers. I think it is half an hour. I'm not going to talk about this closer, because Professor Lamanauskas said there should be time for our questions. But I would like to come back to the basic question. What is it? It is the competence to get knowledge or to collect knowledge, to understand knowledge and to use knowledge when this knowledge is just a click away. Just a click away is knowledge on the web, is knowledge on teachers' material in digital learning environment. The second question, who is competent to teach so understood digital literacy in the frame of digital competence. Asking right biology questions, asking right physics questions, asking right environmental questions, judging which information is relevant in environmental field, in biology field, in physics field, which solution in the process of problem-based learning is correct and which is dead end. That is the competence of biology teacher, that is the competence of physics teacher, that is the competence of literature teacher, music teacher. How could an engineer of electronics and computer science who is teaching digital literacy and digital competence judge what is correct information, which answer is correct? How could he lead his students to ask a relevant question? He cannot. So the answer, who is competent to teach digital literacy in the frame of searching and finding and evaluating knowledge on the web, which is just a click away, is biology teacher, is physics teacher, is Slovene, Lithuanian language teacher who has to get new knowledge to get how to transfer digital literacy in the frame of digital competence to his students. So this should be a new topic or a very relevant topic in the curriculum of pedagogical programs of each scientific field in the educational system. So that would be my general presentation or my standpoint. I wonder if you agree or if you don't agree.
Thanks, Metka. It's really nice and useful presentation, and I hope that it's let's say initiate different feelings, questions, etc. At least for me, but I hope also for my students. And we have enough time. We can continue, obviously, and maybe I will start. I asked students to put some questions in chat menu. I think students will join with some questions, but as usual, I will start to questioning procedure if possible, because it's obviously interesting. And as you mentioned, despite that there are some from the first side, some new issues, some new approaches, let's say, etc., like you mentioned, related to digitalization, etc. But anyway, it's somehow repeating general pedagogical knowledges, etc., etc. This is sometimes we are talking about something new, but in reality it's not new. Maybe only in new context. And it is obvious that currently, let's say, I am speaking in general, we are immersed in online environment. We are teaching and learning at distance generally, not all, obviously, not everywhere, but mainly during this pandemic time. It's becoming really important, and having in mind competences, skills, etc., including IT knowledges, subject knowledge, etc., etc. But as far as I know, you are closely connected, or at least it's your main field of interest, scientific interest about reading and writing literacy. And can you a little bit enlarge your point of view? What is related with, let's say, reading, for example, literacy? Obviously, it's connected with reading and writing. But for example, yesterday we had also a short meeting with, because we are also as publishers, we had a meeting Association of Lithuanian Publishers. It was meeting of the Association of Lithuanian Publishers, and the main point of discussion was about reading. It was it's obviously it's connected with libraries, different types and different levels of libraries, etc. And the main point also was that people in general, obviously kids, children, let's say, are not reading anymore normally. Or if reading, it's questionable understanding what they read, etc., etc. I think in this context, can you enlarge a little bit your point of view?
It is the same the same problem then as we asked before. What is digital competence? Asking 3 people, you will get 3 different answers. You ask your students in the next lecture, write down what means the word or what are your associations if you say reading, and you will get very different answers. And when people are complaining, people are not reading anymore and young children are not reading anymore, they think about reading literature, about reading novels, about reading children's literature. And perhaps this is really getting less and less. But actually, we are reading all the time. We are reading all the time, and young people are reading all the time. But they're reading on screens. They are reading on different I don't know, applications.
iPhones.
Yeah, iPhones. We are reading all the time. You see people on the bus. You see people walking on the street. Nobody is counting clouds and birds. Everybody is looking in some screen and reading pictures, because you know this pictogram language is getting more and more important. But also they are reading messages. What is important in this context? Don't misunderstand. I am in my first profession literature teacher, children's literature teacher, how to empower children to read children's literature and to read adult literature at the end. But actually, we must know in school that we need many reading skills. First very important reading skills is how to skip and skim the information, how to read diagonally, because it is so many. There are so many written words, so many written lines, so many written messages, or written content. Important content is reaching us. You just imagine you read your morning paper from page 1 to page 32. You need all morning. You don't have time for this. You need some knowledge, you need some information, you're searching it on the, or you in problem-based learning. You get thousands and thousands hits. Which one to choose? Okay, you try. You have some previous knowledge this page is okay, this page is not okay, here I can find reliable information because I have found it before, and perhaps it will be the good decision. But now you need the skipping skills to to move with your eyes from the top to the bottom and to decide, okay, it's worth reading, it's not worth reading. That is the first one. And then you need a deep reading skill for reading biology, physics, environmental, politics, and so on. This is then the strategy to decide which you have now the text, line combined with picture, and now you have to decide what is important and what is not important. Which information I will pick, because you don't have the photographic memory, or you have, but I don't have, the majority of people doesn't have. And it is a burden to have to remember everything. It is very, very, very important that we select what is important for us and what is important for the current situation, for the problem we are losing. So these are specific reading strategies for each field. And then we need reading for pleasure, and we need reading for socializing, and we need reading for, and that is the set of competencies. And we are reading all the time.
Yes, right. I do agree. However, we have, let's say, obviously deep and so diverse discussions, for example, related to learning styles, or to some types of learning, some approaches, as least, for example, this well-known model, the VARK, so-called VARK model, visual, oral, read, write, and kinesthetic. And for example, if he or she is more oriented or you have some preferences to learn as visual or as kinesthetic, reading, writing, somehow not so important, or it's not correct.
Oh, I don't know, but research shows that connection with reading and writing is very important. It's very important in the learning process, especially in learning results on higher level of thinking, on higher cognitive level. I think you have heard me mentioning the Müller-Oppenheimer research from Stanford University. Perhaps it would be interesting for your students. It is proving how important it is that we not only see pictures, that we not only make pictures of teachers' slides, PowerPoint slides, that we write down. So Müller and Oppenheimer wanted to find out what is better if students are typing what they have learned in the class, or if they write. And they asked students, university students, to make notes however they want. So it was their choice. And after the class, they asked questions about the topic. Students were listening. They were allowed to read their notes before answering the questions. So read the notes, close the notebook, and now answer the questions. And they found out there were no differences in knowledge, acquired knowledge, typed or handwritten. After a period of time, they returned to this class. And gave students the opportunity to read their notes again. And then they asked the same question. And now they found out that the students who wrote with handwriting, who wrote the notes, had much better results, and focusing on which questions they answered better than those students who typed. High cognitive level questions were answered correctly much more frequently from students who wrote with a hand. So they wanted to know why happens this. And they looked at the notes and they saw that students who typed managed to write down, to type much more words, much more sentences, because they type quicker than write. And comparing the quality of these notes, they saw that that typing quicker made for these students possible to write down verbatim exactly what professor said. And writing more slowly, it was for students, it was necessary to comprise, to select, to decide what is important, what is not important. So, the knowledge heard in the lecture was somehow more deeper process, or went through the intensive cognitive process of the decision what to write down and what not. So learning via listening, reading combined with writing, it is not the learning process for the history. I think we are going to invent it again. Although in the current period, in the current moment, it seems somehow not so popular. Please, professor, can you send us your handout? Can you send us your PowerPoint? No, I'm not sending them anymore. I did it, but I'm not, because I want them to write down.
Oh, it's not so common for us.
Right.
We sending material for students, but I'm usually saying I read some times ago a very nice paper from one professor, manuscript. I hope I will share with my students too. When I'm paraphrasing, let's say that no power in PowerPoint. It means it was one good really manuscript, if I remember title, why I never use PowerPoint when I teach. It means continuing further, it's no power in PowerPoint, really, because as we mentioned, okay, writing, but we know well that currently writing, let's say, writing styles are so different. They're writing on iPhones, for example. It's different strategy, different writing style.
Yeah, but they are too quick, They're too quick, and they don't think, because they're so quick, so skilled. They don't need to think, and thinking process, cognitive process is important.
Yeah, but
we will, Professor Lamanauskas, I think it will be as in many other areas. We will find out that some new things are really top quality, top decision. But we will find out that some old solutions were okay. So we will use them again, and I think we will combine old and new. And it is not everything for everybody. And the theory of learning styles is actually talking about this.
Okay, maybe let's students ask something. If students are willing to ask some questions, please, it's time to ask. It will be nice. Currently I see no questions in chat menu, but never mind. At least I have a lot of questions. Okay, and maybe let's say last question from my side. Sometimes discussion, I mean, in relation to teacher education, in order to prepare highly qualified teachers, for example, that you know that we have mainly two big parts. It's so-called content knowledge and the pedagogical content knowledge, subject content knowledge and pedagogical content knowledge. And quite often discussion is that subject content knowledge is not so important. We should focus mainly on pedagogical content knowledge. Yeah, what would be your opinion in this issue? Because
I think these are waves in the history of teachers' education. Perhaps in 50s and in 60s and in 70s, the content knowledge was the priority, and you know, the pedagogical knowledge, it was something. If you really want to spend time with these things, for instance, in 90s, I wanted to make PhD from literature didactics. I went to the Faculty of Art in University of Ljubljana, and there was a board who, you know, a group of professors, and you as a future PhD student, you had to explain what is your research interest, and then they decided is it suitable, it is not, actually in our term, in the current term, desertability of your idea. And when I presented the wish that I would like to do something in literature didactics, they said, no, you know, we are a serious faculty, we are a serious institution. You must make your PhD in a serious topic like literature, and then later in your professional life you can specialize in literature didactics if you not find something more serious to do. So I decided to make my PhD in science fiction literature. I did. Really, because everybody is wondering, really? Yes, really. I have PhD in science fiction literature. So this was actually 90s, not so long ago. Then later, we have this, as you say, we have this wave of pedagogical knowledge, didactical knowledge, psychology knowledge, student-centered approach, gaming, learning by not learning, by, I don't know, spending nice time and pleasant time and future.
By playing.
And the teacher is going to teach, and student is going to look at the teacher as looking a movie or television, and then if something remains in the head, okay, if not, it's teacher's fault, and so on. But you know, in Slovenia now we come actually a little bit in the other direction. For instance, in my university, in fact, at the University of Maribor, at the primary education teaching program and elementary teaching program, we have seven subject didactics, specialized didactics of mathematics, didactics of mother tongue, didactics of natural science, and so on and so on. And now, since 3 years, it is a rule that for the habilitation process for assistant for special didactics, You cannot have the pedagogical study program. You need a subject concept study program. For instance, my Maya Kernaja, was initially elementary teacher, university program elementary teacher. She made a PhD in early education teaching program, so elementary education PhD. Before she could become my assistant for language didactics, she had to pass Slovene language and literature study program, bachelor and master, because content knowledge, subject content knowledge is, in our opinion, in our current opinion, of course it will change with the time, as it always changes, but it is seen or understood as a basic knowledge. Before you can start thinking how I'm going to teach this, you must understand what are you going to teach by yourself. So it is the solid basement, for each special didactics. We think in this moment.
Okay, thanks Metka so much. And again, I shortly ask my students if they have some questions. If not, we will finish, obviously. Currently, I see maybe no questions. On behalf of my students, let's express my much gratitude to you and for your let's say for your time. You shared very well some knowledge related to Slovenian school system and with some in relation with some burning or hot issues, etc. I wish you big success in your future academic and personal life. And obviously I will continue with my students. Thanks once again for sharing your ideas.
Professor Lamanauskas, dear colleagues from Lithuania, thank you for listening. Thank you for your invitation. It was my honor. I wish you a pleasant time with Professor, pleasant time with your students. I wish you a nice weekend. Take care from COVID because it's getting dangerous again, and be good.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.